Hey guys, Josh, Happy Little Landscapes, back again. Today we did a 12 by 16 inch canvas, nice little misty mountain, 5 trees, 6 colors, about 7 or 8 brushes that we used today. So if you want to learn how to paint this painting, get your stuff out, get ready. I'll tell you what kind of colors we need, I'll tell you what brushes you're going to be using, and we'll get started just like this. Today guys, we have Prussian Blue, Alizarin Crimson, Midnight Black, Titanium White, Indian Yellow, and Bright Red. Now, we're going to take our 1-inch brush, we're going to go right into the Indian Yellow, just a little bit, and we're just going to make a real messy shape, right? We go right into our Bright Red, a little bit more of a messy shape, right into our Crimson, a little bit more messy, a little bit more Crimson, come in here, come around the bottom. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you put it literally anywhere on the canvas. Right, a little Crimson to our Prussian Blue. Get our Prussian Blue up in here, making this nice purpley color. And we're not blending it in too much, we're just kind of dropping the color on right now. Right into our Midnight Black. On the top of our canvas. Whoop. Whoop, there it goes. That's going to go in the highlight reel. We don't have our canvas locked in right now because I'm trying to get to where I can paint the top of the sucker. It went and slid out on me. Alright, got our Midnight Black in here. Again, sliding all over the place, but that's okay. Chalk that up to a happy accident, right? Like that. As soon as we get the top done, we can lock this sucker in. Alright. Now this 12 by 16 inch canvas doesn't really sit very well on my easel. It's a little bit too small, so I've had to rest it on this bit up here. We'll squish it down and we'll lock it in. Now we've made this big messy color up here. Throw some of that purple down in here. It doesn't matter. These are just going to all be kind of colors in our snow, so don't worry about that. Going to wash our brush. We have our Jasco brush cleaner that we like to use. Pretty strong. This smells pretty strong. And we've got our old beater bucket. Oh, you didn't even see me down here. Hello. Our Happy Little Landscapes t-shirts. Apron. I'm sure I just got paint all over myself. Let's see. Then we wash our brushes in Jasco brush cleaner. You can use liquid mineral spirits or paint thinner, whatever's easy for you. And then we've got our old trusty beater bucket that's got a golf ball basket stuck down the bottom of it. And that way we can beat the brush along the basket, get the bristles nice and clean. Always dab it off on a paper towel. You don't want to touch your wet, paint thinner wet brush and go back onto our canvas. It's just going to make a big mess. Okay, now that we've got all these colors up here, we're going to take our 2-inch brush and we're going to blend them all out, starting with our brightest area in here, right? And all we're doing is just making crisscross, just X shapes with our brush, just back and forth in fast motion, and make these X shapes. And remember, you don't want to come up and touch your dark and then go back into your brightest area. It's going to make it really dull. So we'll go crisscross, go along the sides. Always finish the sides of your canvas. You never know how they're gonna frame it. If you sell it, if somebody buys it, if they're gonna frame it, you don't want to have just the white edges around the canvas. It makes it look unfinished. And we like finished stuff over here. So again, we've got our yellow, probably 2/3 of the way down. A little bit of red, crimson, and blue mixed together is gonna make our purple, and then our black. Everything's gonna kind of blend in together. And we're gonna make one of my favorite scenes that I call the Misty Mountains. Right? Very simple. 4 trees, 1 mountain, and some clouds, and that's it. So let's see, we don't want to, I've come a little bit too close with my blue, so we want to have some red in there for that blue to bounce off of. Otherwise, when you mix the blue and the yellow together, we're going to get green. All right, so we'll make the red. And I like making these dramatic type skies. You never, I don't like making them very straight, where you have these real defined lines. We're going to blend everything out so well that you shouldn't have any straight lines. Okay, so we're going to go back and forth, mix up our black on the top, Along the sides, maybe down here along the bottom where it is, we're gonna have all of our shadows and stuff. Along the side up here, trying to stay out of your guys' way. Just gonna mix it in. And you can even bring some of that black, bring it in along the side, to where we just have this nice little bit of bright in our painting. All right, everything else will be covered up with fog, or the mountain, or the trees, so you don't have to worry about that. Back and forth along the bottom. And right here, we've got this nice hard line is where I really want to blend it, so you can't really tell, where the line kind of stops and where it begins. And the sky's even a little bit too dark for me, so we're going to have a little bit more Alizarin Crimson. Throw it up in here and just blend it out until you can't tell where the crimson starts, where the black stops. Just want to blend it all out. Make it nice and purpley. When you mix that crimson and the midnight black together with the blue that we put up here, it makes this real nice purple color. So you don't want your sky to be all the same color. You want to have bits of blue and black and crimson and the yellow and the red all in there together. You don't want to blend it all out to this one bland color. Okay, we're going to wash off our 2-inch brush, back into our paint thinner, shake off the excess into our beater bucket. Again, right onto the paper towel. You want it to be dry. You don't want to go back up there with a wet brush. Okay, we're going to switch to my newer 2-inch brush. Just kind of make everything nice and soft. I know I may look a little awkward trying to do it over here like this, but I'm trying to stay out of your guys' way. And that way you can see what the heck I'm doing. I'm trying to make this sky. So now, maybe hard to tell in the photo, but we've got, black, crimson, blue, all up here in the sky, all over our orange and red kind of sunset. And we may even lose a lot of that, but that color being underneath there is going to make our fog around our mountain a lot prettier. You know what I mean? Don't want to just have the same color sky. All right, now that we've blended that, we're going to wash this brush, set it aside so we can use it later. I think I need a new beater bucket. My bucket is so dang dirty. And they're like $2 at Lowe's. You can get a $2 Lowe's bucket or Home Depot, whatever's closer to you. It's like $2 for a 5-gallon bucket, and it'll save your house from looking all nasty. You don't want to be spraying all this paint thinner all over your house. All right. Wipe that off, paper towel it. Got one more and then we'll get back to it. Paper towel is your best friend. All right, now we're gonna take our old beat up size 8 fan brush. And we're gonna go right into our titanium white, just getting it on one side of the brush. Don't need a lot of paint, but you want it on one side of the brush. And then we're going to come up here and just make this real messy shape. Right? Just real messy. Doesn't have to be the same amount of thickness on each side or anything like that. And you can go back in with your 1-inch brush, or if you only have a fan brush, you only have a few tools, then you can just mix it right here with the fan brush. Just so lightly though. You want to leave some dark areas in between. You don't want it to be the same color. You want to have it look messy, right? Make a mess when you paint with Josh, okay? We're gonna make a mess. Now we're gonna go in, maybe let's take a little bit of our crimson and our black since they're so close together on our palette. And we'll just throw in another little awkward looking shape right underneath there. Again, we're just gonna blend it in so softly because we don't want all that color to blend away. We wanna be able to see some of that. Take our 1-inch brush. We'll just blend it in so it's nice and soft. We've got this big fluffy soft cloud out there. Blend away all those thick lines. Now we can take our 2-inch brush, go straight up. All right, come to the side. Blend in those bits. And if you like that, you can leave it. But we're going to add one more cloud for me. So I'm going to do is wash off this fan brush again. All right, go back into our white. So we'll come back up again, kind of stay, you want to leave some edges where you can see that shadowy color underneath. Okay, I mean, you can literally do whatever you want. Just make a mess. That's literally it. make a mess under there. And then we're going to go in with our 1-inch brush again, or your fan brush, whatever brush you want. And we're just going to mix it up. And we're not even mixing it. That's a bad word. We're disturbing the paint. All we're doing is just very lightly touching it so we don't see those streaks from our fan brush or whatever brush you use to put it on. But you want some areas to be whiter, some areas to be darker. You want to have some shadow in between. You don't want it to look the same. When you paint the clouds, go look up at a cloud. It's never the same. Even if it's a bright blue day outside and you see a white cloud, you'll see bits of gray and other colors in there that are part of that cloud. And it's never the same exact color. We'll take our 1-inch brush again. And what this, or a 2-inch brush, sorry. What this is doing is just flattening down the paint. Right? All those thick textured bits, if we zoom in and we see how it got drug up right there, we're just flattening that paint down, and then we're going to come to the side. Okay, and the harder you push, the more you're going to change the shape of your cloud. Okay, I don't really want that. There we go. Just like so. This bit underneath we're going to make it in the mountain anyway, so if you get a little bit of color down there, it's not too bad. We still got our sunset. The sun's kind of going down behind the clouds here. And we've got this wicked kind of blue, black, crimson colored with the white cloud up there. Okay. Flatten it down. You can go either way, side to side. As long as you've kind of blended it out well enough, you're not going to take all that color and smear it across the canvas. It's the one thing I saw when I watched Bob for the first time. I'm like, how does he go back and forth across the canvas without taking all that paint and smearing it everywhere? Well, now we know, don't we? Gotta blend that sucker out so it's nice and soft. Okay, now might as well just clean all of your brushes right now, get it out of the way. Still looking good, got our nice soft clouds up there. And then what we're gonna do now is make our mixture for our mountain. And we only have a few colors, so we're going to use our favorite 3 colors to make our mountain, which is blue, crimson, and black. And we're just going to mix them up nice until they're nice and dark. You don't want to have any marbling in there. You don't want to have a bit of your mountain be red or blue. You want them, for this painting at least, to be all the same kind of dark, uniform color. Then we're going to decide, make some big decisions here. I know I want to leave in some of this sunset around our mountain here. So we just kind of make a decision about where this sucker is going to live. Get a good chunk of paint on your palette knife, and then come up here and see what happens. Now we'll come down, come over, and we're just literally smushing it onto the canvas right now. And all we're worried about is this very top line. Doesn't matter what it looks like under here. We're just worried about the top edge of our mountain right now. Okay, come down. And you got a little step right here. Oh, came up out of the thing. Now we got to change the shape. But that's fine. You don't want it to be this perfect straight shape. You want to have these imperfections in it. Right, I'm going to scrape away all this excess paint that got left up there, so it's much lighter, and that way it'll be easier for us to blend it out. And we'll come over here and put another peak. Totally up to you. Whatever you want to do. All right, we'll take our 1-inch brush here, kind of grab it and just pull it out. Right? Doesn't have to go all the way to the edge. Doesn't even have to look the same. You don't want it to be the same. We're going to make a bunch of fog around it anyway, so don't worry about it. Right, we just want to be mindful of that top edge and what that sucker looks like. You don't want to have your brush stroke come up out of that top edge, so stay along where you made your shapes. All right, kind of push them down. Just pull out the rest. And then we'll crisscross strokes down here at the bottom, just kind of blending it into that stuff that we had before. This way, doesn't matter. All this stuff is going to be covered up with our fog. Now when you're doing these, you might not be able to see it on the camera, but you sort of line yourself up for where your shadows and your snow highlights are going to be just from your brush strokes. You can tell there's darker areas, there's lighter areas. You can take it and move it and maybe have this mountain come in front of that other one. Just whatever you want to do. It is literally up to you. Whatever you want. If you don't like the shape of your mountain, you can change it. It was kind of a little too round for me. Come off over here. Just however you want to make it. Totally up to you. Right, one side could be higher, it could be lower. It's never going to be a perfect shape for your mountain. And down here, like I said, we'll just, you can even take your brush and go along the whole bottom. Doesn't matter. When we add our snow down here, some of these colors will show through and it'll be like shadows in our snow. And it'll make these cool effects that you didn't even plan on. And that's the best part about painting for me, is when you do something and then you look at it and you go, wow, like that turned out really awesome. I didn't even mean to do that. All right, so we're going to decide that maybe our light is going to come from this side. So we'll do our shadows along this side of the mountain and then put our highlights on the other side, right? We'll shadow this, highlight this, shadow this side. Okay? Now, in order to make our foggy look, this is just taking the brush, kind of pushing real hard into the canvas and just making circles with it. That's all you gotta do. Just make the circles. And we're gonna come back in and do it again after we do our snow highlights. So don't worry about it too much. Go back and forth like we did with our thing, and you can see that I didn't make my fog in this straight razor blade line. We kind of want to have it rolling in at different heights, come down, coming up, and that way it looks more realistic than if you were just to make this straight line across it. Okay, so why don't we mix up our highlight color now, which is going to be white and blue with just the littlest bit of black. Okay, the blue is very strong when you mix it with the white. You want to have it mainly like a really light colored blue, and then take the littlest bit of our mountain mixture and just kind of dull it a little. And that way we've got this kind of grayish light blue color, right? And that's going to be the color of our snow. You can even brighten it up if you want just a little bit. Okay, mainly light blue. Like when you look at the blue sky, light blue. Okay, we're going to take that, and who knows, why don't we put our shadows over here. And what we're literally doing is just, we're holding it so lightly and kind of almost straight, right? If you have it at too much of an angle, then the snow's not going to break on you. You kind of want to hold it straight up to the canvas and just make these long swipes to the side, right? And that's going to be, it's going to allow it to grip and then break along the canvas like that. If it doesn't break very easily for you, you may not have enough paint on your palette knife, or your mountain might be a little bit too thick. But it's mainly in the angle of how you hold it. You don't want to hold it, straight against the canvas. You got to be almost, kind of the same angle of your canvas. And that's something that Bob doesn't tell you, how to hold the dang thing. Put some snow in there. We'll have a little bit of white come down, maybe over here. That's why I like putting our snow in our shadows first, because then you can sit and play with your highlights of your snow instead of having to go back in and make these little adjustments. You can just let her rip. I know I want a little bit of snow on the top of this guy. Like the light came down just perfectly and hit the top of that. Go down, just pull it. Remember not to go over your areas too many times, right? You don't want to smash all the stuff that we've created with these cool breaks. The more you go over all these breaks, the less it's going to look real, and the more you're going to smash them. Okay, so go like that, maybe a little bit of white over here, coming down. Maybe it comes off to this side a little bit, and then up on this peak over here. And again, you see how I'm holding the palette knife. It's very, very much the same angle as the canvas is right now, not at a 45 or a 90 degree straight across. And that has a lot to do with how your snow will break. Okay, you don't want to cover up all your blues. You don't want to go over it too many times or you'll, like I said, you'll smash all these cool little breaks and then it'll all be the same. A little bit over here. Totally up to you. Now it looks like we've got the bits where this peak is casting a shadow onto this, casting a shadow over here, this thing's casting a shadow. We want it all like that. You can take and kind of mix in your blues and your whites together, especially on the edges of your shadows. Just kind of pull it over just a littlest bit so they kind of mix together. Again, totally up to you how you want it to look. The main thing is you don't want to overdo it. You know what I mean? The more you do or the more you touch, the more you're gonna overdo. We'll even come back to our shadow down here. This looks a cool little ridge. Now this whole thing is just casting this big long shadow. And we'll take the littlest bit of white and just kind of come over it, just a touch. Don't do it too much. You want to have some of your dark areas in there from the color that we made the mountain. You want to have some of your lighter areas in your shadows. Right? You don't want to do it. You don't want to overdo. I've always said, don't overdo it. All right, we're going to mix up this. Put some white down here, and this is just going to add to our fog. All right, a little fogginess. Who knows? Let's throw a little crimson in here too. That'll add to our foggy color. Actually, looks really good. Mix all that up. A little bit more crimson. A little bit more white. A little bit of blue. Just kind of mix up all the colors that we've been using. And like I said, all this is going to turn into fog. It's going to look like our mountain is kind of floating in the middle of nothing. Right? We did that initially when we did the mountain. We did our circles, but now we're going to have some color in there. Again, you don't want to push too hard. You don't want to overdo it. You just kind of want to, like how we made our clouds, just want to lightly disturb the paint so you can see that there's bits of blue and bits of white and bits of, the purple that we made the mountain with. Just disturb it. Right? And that's going to make it look like this cool bit of fog. Okay. We got all these colors of our sky down into our fog. Who knows, that might be a little bit too much crimson in that spot, so we'll add a little bit of blue. Just mix it up. Still not where you want it, add a little bit of white. Just mix it. Just disturb the paint. Now we got this cool kind of mountainy, this mountain is just kind of floating out there in the middle of nowhere. You can take our 1-inch brush, just very lightly, very, very lightly, go up in the same way of our slopes, right? Just the opposite way like this. Come over on this side, and that's just going to blur the very bottom where it kind of meets our fog. It's just going to be a little bit blurry. Right? Again, our fog changes in height as we go along. You don't want it to be the same, you don't want to have some razor blade line there. You want it to change. You want it to change height. It can go above your horizon line, it doesn't matter. Right, go along, back and forth in our fog. We're covering the bits of our bottom there. Now we got this wicked mountain. It's just kind of floating out there. And you can do a lot of things from this point. You can have this little snowy meadow like we're thinking about, or you could just do the tips of the trees. Right? You could put in another set of mountains or rocks down along the bottom, and then it's going to be a real close. Like, I'm just kind of showing you guys what I'd like to do, the tips and tricks that I use, and then you guys just take it and run with it. Do whatever you want. Like I was going to try to make one look very similar to another painting I did, but now I'm thinking it's starting to look so cool. I'm thinking we might have to change our idea. I didn't like that little double peaker up there, just make it into one. You can tell up here the snow's real thick, and then we kind of, you can imagine there's either trees or rocks. And that's why the snow's kind of broken around all those different things. Get more of our shadow. Just want that one little peak sticking out over there. And it starts to look so good that you want to continue to do it all, but you want to have these different colors in your snow, right? You do it all. I've done it many times, looking around at some of my paintings, some of my older paintings for sure, and you know, the white starts looking so good that you think it all has to be white. It doesn't all have to be white. You want to have those shadows in there. And like I said, you want to have the shadows in first, and that way you don't have to come back like this and try to make those shadows more pronounced. If you put them in there first, then you can sit and play with your highlights, which is the easier bit. You can even take a bit of that same kind of blackish mountain mixture that we made, just go over in different areas with the littlest bit of black, and that's like it's casting this real deep shadow down there, right? Or there's a bit of rock sticking up or something. But again, you don't want to overdo it with the black either. Black again starts looking really neat. You're like, oh man, you keep doing it, and then all of a sudden your whole mountain's black. All right, so what we'll do is continue on with what we were going to do. Might switch it up a little bit, but I really like the way this one's going. Again, don't overdo it with your black. The phone going ring right there. Don't want to overdo it with the black. Again, it starts looking so neat. You're like, oh, I could do some more of that over here and put some more of that over here, and then all of a sudden you've got, it doesn't look like you had it before. So, we can imagine our horizon lines maybe down here, and we're going to make this little meadow. So if you used up all your mountain color, we need to go back and make more. And we might as well just kind of make some more anyway. Not like we're going to not need it. With some black, some blue, some crimson. We're going to make 4 trees. That's it. Just like I told you, nice simple painting. This one might actually even be about 40 minutes. Do the whole thing. Simple little painting. Now we're going to switch to, let's see, number 6 fan brush. All right, mine's kind of old and beat up, so we'll see what it looks like when we make this shape here. What I'm doing is filling the bristles full of paint just by pulling down and kind of wiggling. That separates them all and gets the paint really stuck in there. And you want these to be real textured trees, okay? And then what we're going to do is come into this fog and just make couple little trees, right? Using the very tip corner of the brush, not pushing back and forth till you get down around where you want to stop, right? The top pretty pointy. I'm going to go back in. The next one, because everybody needs a friend, right? Come back in here. Back and forth with the corner of the brush. The further you get down, the more you push in, right? The further you push in turn using more of the bristles of the paint, of the brush. Right? So if our light went this way, we're going to take these, just kind of make a little fog around the bottom, and just pull them out to the side. Okay? You don't want it to be uniform. Just want to kind of pull them out. Let me take a little bit of white. We'll come in here, and we just want to have everything in here is going to be real foggy. All right. Do that. Come to the side. Now we've got this kind of foggy bit where you can't really tell, how tall the trees are. They may go down to here, they may not. They may just be at the bottom. Remember to finish where your mountain was on the side. Just like that. And then we'll come back in, same dirty fan brush, real thick, real full of paint. So we have this nice little blade of paint that we can use. And then we'll come in, we're going to make this tree a little bit taller. Right, maybe about right there. Come over our mountain, and a little bit longer down the bottom. Come in again, just very lightly touching. Very light. You want the paint very thick right here. You want it to be nice and thick and textured, and that way you'll have something to put your highlight colors on, right? Nothing too crazy. A little bit lower than our other trees, right? And taller, but not taller than the mountain. For our big tall mountain, we're going to come over here and we're going to put a giant tree taller than our mountain right over here. Right? Take your line, go down. This one's going to go off the bottom of the canvas, okay? So remember, don't make it too big. We might even put two of them over here. Right? Again, just the corner of the brush. If you come at it straight, then the tips of your trees are going to be real long at the top, and that's not what you want. So just the corner, and the more you move down, the more the brush you use. Just back and forth. Not every branch has to come out the same distance, right? Nothing crazy. And the more you get down, the more you can kind of rotate your brush back and forth to get your branches and stuff, right? Give them this kind of upward looking angle. That's what I like. I like to paint the upward style trees. Like that. This guy's kind of curving in, which looks cool. I like it. Alright, so we've got all of our fog back there, which is the reason why you do it in the beginning. And we're going to take the bottom of this guy, just come off almost straight sideways. Okay? Straight sideways. That's why we have all this, that's why we lay down all these colors to where we don't even really need to put any white snow. We've got all this stuff that's kind of implied that it's already there. Alright, just straight across, we get these shadows and stuff. And then you can even take, your 1-inch brush and just kind of make it foggy. That's all we really want to do is create this little foggy type of meadow. Just like that, right? Now the bottom one, we can even take it, it looks like it's close enough. We can just do a little bit to the side like this. Right, just along the bottom edge of our canvas. Don't want to go too high up. Again, you want this difference in height, right? Difference in height there, difference in height here. That way, those look further away and this one looks more close up. Again, just the very tip of the brush as you come up here. You can make it whatever shape you want to make it. Now, since we have a little bit of this paint left over, I'm going to make a little baby tree. We're doing these little baby trees. Alright, get our same old dirty brush. Still haven't washed it. We're only using a few same colors here. Now we're going to make it, let's see, down into the fog over here. Just a little guy. This guy's dropped a couple seeds and now he's got his little friend growing over here. Just like that. So I like 5 trees. 5 trees we used. Pull them over to the side, just kind of let it fall off into nothing. Right, just like that. Now we've got these 3 different layers in our little meadow. Okay? It's never going to be just one straight line. What we'll do is we'll wash off this old dirty brush. You can even see you don't have to have it the same throughout the entire tree. Right? You can leave some areas. It looks cooler when it's not as uniform. We can even go back in. Looks to me like this side should be a little bit further out. Like that. Okay, now what I want to do is just to make a little bit of a trunk inside of those trees. We're just going to take a little bit of white inside of that, and on this little guy, just kind of want to touch it. The more you get down to the bottom, the more you're going to drag over to the side. Okay, this guy, we're not going to do the whole thing, but you want to have some areas in there where you can tell there's a trunk holding up this huge tree. this little guy, just like that. And it's not very visible. I might, you know, in the video you might not be able to see it very well, but when someone looks at it, especially if you have it nice and thick and it's kind of pulled away and textured from the canvas, it's going to look really neat. All right, now we're going to go in with a different size fan brush. I always like using a smaller size brush to make the highlights than I did with, you know, to make the actual trees. And it seems like this this one, I came in a micro fan brush set, but it's the biggest one that they had. It seems like it's going to be a good size. We may even use a smaller one for these couple smaller ones back here. So what we're going to do for that is make up our snow color, our highlight color, right? Same thing as our snow for our mountains back here. A little bit bluey, blue and white. And then we're going to take and add in some of that liquid white. Okay, and that's going to help it stick to our thick textured bits of our tree over here. Right now, we do the same thing, straight through there, on both sides, make it nice and like a blade, right? We're going to come up here, same thing, we're just going to touch, we're just going to so lightly touch. If the paint doesn't stick, then your paint isn't thin enough. Go back and get more liquid white, put it back in your pile. Right? We're going to touch. We don't want to smush the shapes that we did. So we just want to touch it, and whatever sticks will stick. Right? Wipe off that dark paint. Come back in, get some more. And you want to skip. You don't want to cover everything with this light blue color. Skip and skip and skip. And the further you get down to the bottom, the less and less you want to touch. Right? And that way, it's showing that, you know, some of the bits are getting hit by light, some of it isn't. You don't want to cover up all of your branches in this light blue color, or it's just not going to look realistic. It's going to look too bright. Right? Come in, we'll switch to our even smaller fan brush, a little bit more liquid white. Back into our blue color here. Come up on this guy. Give me a little touch, and again, the more you go down to the bottom, the less and less you need to do in regards to highlighting it. Now, since we're using this small brush, I might as well keep using it. And what I've done is taken a little bit of this dark color and kind of doled it out, because these ones are so much further away that they're not going to be as bright, right? And you don't need as much detail on it. So just a couple highlights on there. Skip, skip, skip. Bam. Make this one on the right a little bit brighter than the one on the left, just because we got our light coming in from this side, right? We might as well keep doing that same brush for this middle-sized tree. Get our blue, get our white, both sides, come up here, and just stay on your branches, but just very lightly touch. You don't want to touch too hard, or it's gonna, you know, it's gonna mush your shape that you did. We don't want to do that. So just like that, within a few minutes, we knocked out a painting, nice oil painting. You can take your knife, make it nice and pointy on the top of all of your trees. This one's good enough. That one in there, give it a little spike on the top. Makes it look like the wood's kind of stuck out, and then, yeah, just like that. We've got a wicked little painting. You can take over here, scrape in some sticks and branches and stuff. Doing that, all different sizes. And we'll fix the bottom again. Over here, just a couple. Can't really see that far back anyway. Alright, come in here. Make our little foggy motion, right? And then come out that way. What I like to do sometimes is get a little bit, maybe on the small end of your knife, just kind of touch it, and these little either sticks or bits of grass, tall grass that come up out of the ground. Like that. You don't want to do too many of them. thing again, they start looking pretty neat, and you're like, ooh, do some more of that, and then it never turns out as well as you think. And then why not? We've got all this extra paint, so let's do like a little bush down here, and just a little guy. And all we're doing is just rotating the brush in this semicircle pattern. Take our little shadow brush we've been using, right? Pull it off to the side. Just like that, and now we've got a little bit extra, something else to look at. You can even take, if you wanted to, take your bit of white and stuff, white and blue, and just kind of highlight this little sucker like he's a frozen little bush out there. I like that, looks great. Take that, get rid of these guys, the bottoms, just like so. Now you can tell we've got these difference in elevation of our little mountain meadow. Bam. Just like that, we got the finished painting, guys. Not too bad, not too bad. Now we'll come to sign it. And I just use liquid white a lot of the times, especially if I've got a nice dark corner down the bottom. The liquid white kind of stands out on its own. So what we'll do down here, sign the sucker, and then for mine, I like to paint my family into each painting that I do. So what we'll do for there is get a little bit of paint thinner right into our darkest bit of paint over here, and we'll just make our little family flock of birds, okay? For that, we'll get our yardstick out. If you've seen my other videos about the yardstick, you know. If not, get an old yardstick. It helps you kind of rest your hand when you want to do small details that you don't want to try to float over. It just gives you something to rest on. That way you're not pushing your hand against the wet paint. Right, so then we'll put our little hands over here. It's just very far off. Bit of birds. They really have to stand out. It's not the focal piece that I want, you know what I mean? I don't want people to look at them and see them straight away. So I like to hide them up in the clouds a lot. But other than that, guys, it looks good to me. Little bits of grass out here. Over there. Just forgot to kind of smooth that out. Bam. Who knows, we could even take a bit of this white down here. Just to give us something to play off of all that dark color. I don't want to get too close to my signature now that I put it in there. Just like that. A little bit of white underneath here. Just be mindful of your angles that you're painting. If you paint something and it's got an upward stroke, it's going to look different than how you want it to. So just be mindful of how you want it to look. Drop it down. So you've got these nice little angles. You don't want them to be too steep. You don't want them to go uphill. You can sit and kind of play around with it. And that way it looks like this is off in some fog. We can see where our tree is sitting here. Got these little areas down here. And you can just sit and play with it all day. Don't overdo it. Don't want to overdo it. That's the main thing. So besides that, we're all done, guys. If you like this painting, subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. If it was helpful to you. I know people have been asking about this kind of fog technique. You can continue that and make more mountains underneath. Branch out. Do something you've never done before. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You have to scrape off your canvas and start over, or paint it black and then maybe do a space scene or do a night scene. Try something new that you've never done before. Try a new technique, and hopefully these techniques that I've taught you guys today, you'll be able to either recreate this painting or recreate a painting very similar to it. And if you do, please send it to me. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. I don't know what happened right here. Love to see what you come up with the techniques that I've shown you today. So You know, if you like it, again, subscribe to my channel, like my Facebook page, facebook.com/happylandscapeart. You can go to Instagram, find me there, at Happy Little Landscapes. Or if you'd like to purchase this painting or send it to one of your relatives or a friend, go to etsy.com/shop/happylandscapeart, and that will take you to my Happy Little Landscapes Etsy shop, where you can purchase any one of these. You can buy the apron, you can get the t-shirts, you can do, you know, there's a lot of stuff on there, stickers, all sorts of stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Send me a photo, try this one, and we'll see you guys on the next painting.